Hey guys, Norframe here, and today we're going to discuss one specific case. And there's no Hollywood script in this story, no masked villains, no car chases, no loud shootouts. Just one woman whose name the entire country now knows was M. A quiet woman with a calm smile who would soon be unmasked as the common link in a chain of poisonings. It began on an otherwise ordinary morning, around 10 or 11 a.m., a woman walked down to the river to take part in a local tradition. She was there to release fish into the water, a ritual believed in Thailand to bring good luck and prosperity. But what was meant to be a hopeful ceremony turned tragic. Suddenly, she collapsed. Passers-by rushed to her side, but she was unconscious. An ambulance was called. Paramedics arrived, worked desperately to revive her, but it was too late. She was pronounced dead. Doctors said it looked like acute heart and lung failure, maybe just a tragic, random event, but soon things didn't add up. The woman was identified at Siraporn, Kavong, known to France as Koi. She was only 32 years old, a successful entrepreneur from Kanchanaburi province. She had no health issues, no warning signs, and when her family looked closer, they discovered something chilling. Some of her belongings were missing. Gone was $1,400 in cash, her iPhone 14 Pro Max, her Oppo phone, her wallet, and even her car. Her parents refused to believe this was an accident, and with their suspicions growing, authorities launched a deeper investigation. They started with surveillance cameras in the area, and that's when the truth started to unravel. The footage showed that Coit hadn't gone to the river alone. She was with her friend, a woman named Sarat, known as Am. At first, both women walked together, but then their path split. Koi went toward the riverbank. Am crossed the road. The video is unsettling. Am is seen lingering, staring toward the river, passing back and forth. At one point, she appears to ask someone a question. She gestures, points across the path, pretended to be confused. But then, her behavior takes a darker turn. She walks back to her car, retrieves something, and heads quickly down toward the river, where Koi is. Moments later, she climbs back up, returns to the car, and drives off, as if nothing happened. For someone whose friend just had collapsed, her actions seemed inexplicably cold, and the family wanted answers. Why did Am leave the scene so quickly? Why didn't she stay to help? Why didn't she call for an ambulance? Those questions haunted Koi's loved ones. Police soon found Koi's car not with her, but at home of one of Am's acquaintances. Cameras confirmed earlier that morning Koi had driven to Am's house. From there, the two women had gone together to the river in Am's vehicle. But Koi's other belongings, the cash, the phones, the wallet, were nowhere to be found. When questioned, Am at first denied everything. She said she hadn't even been at the river. But when investigators showed her the surveillance footage, she changed her story. She admitted she had been there, but claimed she'd left suddenly because urgent matters had come up. As for her friend, she said she'd noticed Koi wasn't feeling well, but since there were people nearby, she thought everything would be fine and left. Later, evidence revealed that M had mailed a package to one of her acquaintances on April 19. Inside that package were Koi's wallet, one of her phones, and a bag. The rest of her things were never recovered. M's explanation didn't convince many, and one man in particular wasn't buying it, Rapa Chamandria. After reviewing the footage, he knew something was deeply wrong, but even he couldn't have imagined how far this case really went. If M was responsible for Koi's death, the question was how. The most obvious theory? Poisoning. But initial toxicology tests found nothing unusual in Koi's body. For a time, the case seemed stalled, until the calls started pouring in. News outlets and police stations were overwhelmed by people saying they knew others who had also been close to M and had also died suddenly in strange circumstances. And then a disturbing detail emerged. Many of those victims had one thing in common: darkened fingernails at the time of death. From 2020 to 2023, investigators identified at least 15 victims connected to M. 15 people in just 3 years. And the most chilling part, she had managed to avoid suspicion the entire time. Until April 23rd, 2023, when police finally arrested her. And the news of this case spread like wildfire across Thailand. Everyone was asking the same question: how many victims were there really? Who else could have fallen into M's web? It didn't take long before another woman came forward. She revealed that she owed M a massive debt, 250,000 baht, which is about $7,861. During one of their meetings at a shopping mall, M casually offered her a pill. But the moment she swallowed it, she felt an intense pressure in her chest, her hands going numb. She was lucky. She made it to the hospital just in time, and doctors saved her life. This raised the chilling question: how many others hadn't been so lucky? So, who really was M? At the time of her arrest, she was just 36 years old. To those around her, she wasn't a shadowy criminal. She was a mother of two. Her ex-husband, Varun, was a respected police officer. After their wedding, the couple lived in official police housing, while he climbed the ranks all the way to lieutenant colonel. With his success, the family moved into a better home and enjoyed a comfortable lifestyle. Even after divorcing in 2020, M and Varun stayed on close terms, supposedly for the sake of the children. No one knows exactly when the dark side of her life began, but among the more than 10 suspected victims, reports say one of them was her most recent lover. Because whenever M went, suspicious death seemed to follow. Take the case of her boyfriend, Mr. Day. On March 12, 2023, just 1 month before Coin's death, Day died suddenly, also under mysterious circumstances. The autopsy said the cause was acute heart and lung failure. Another medical accident. Another death no one questioned at first. It was M herself who called the police. She introduced herself as Day's girlfriend, and even claimed she was pregnant with his child. At the time, no one raised an eyebrow. But just days later, her behavior sparked suspicion. Instead of mourning, she went out to celebrate her birthday with friends. And on March 18, only 6 days after Day's death, she pawned his gold jewelry and moved to take control of his property. Day's family didn't doubt her then. They believed she was carrying his child and therefore had a legal right to his estate. But one of Day's close friends, who asked to remain anonymous, we'll call him Mr. Kong, was deeply unsettled. Kong had known Day since childhood, and he knew something wasn't right. He remembered the first time they introduced him to M, back in December 2022. They met through a dating app. M boasted about her involvement in microloans, cars, land, and stock trading. She also repeatedly bragged about her ex-husband's high-ranking police status, insisting he would protect her from any problems. On March 11, just a day before Day's death, Kun recalled seeing Day sitting on a marble bench outside with M. But something about Day was off. Normally cheerful, he was unusually quiet, almost tense. M did most of the talking, quizzing him about his past relationships and what he'd done before meeting her. That evening, Day left with M. The very next day, he was dead. When M called to report his condition, she told Day's friend May that he had severe bleeding. By the time May arrived, there were already several people in the room, and M was there too. Day was lying on the bed, in just his underwear, blood on his lips, his nails disturbingly darkened, yet his body was still warm. At the time, May thought he might have overdosed on something, or even fallen victim to what some in Thailand might call witchcraft. But another detail stood out. Day, who usually carried plenty of cash, had barely 10 baht left in his pockets. Then came the most shocking discovery. Some of Day's close friends remembered him saying he had once witnessed M kill someone. He called her a cruel woman. That memory drove them to search his home after his death, and what they found was terrifying. Hidden away was a bottle labeled UN 1680, the code for cyanide. Cyanide, one of the deadliest poisons known. It's fast-acting, it's odorless, it's tasteless. It can be slipped into food or drink without the victim ever realizing it. Within minutes, breathing becomes difficult. Confusion sets in. Unconsciousness follows. In just 15 minutes, depending on the dose, cyanide can kill. And unless special lab tests are performed, traces can vanish, leaving little behind for investigators to detect. Thailand does regulate cyanide strictly. It's mainly used in the mining industry to extract gold and silver, but it can still be found in certain pesticides and fumigants. And investigators now had proof. Medical experts discovered cyanide traces in the car Em shared with her ex-husband. That discovery triggered a search warrant for her ex-husband's home. Inside, police found large quantities of unidentified drugs and empty capsules. Vedon, her ex-husband, insisted he had no idea where they came from. But by this point, it was clear, Em wasn't just connected to one suspicious death. She was tied to many. Similar finds were made in Em's mother's house, and when the forensic tests came back, the results were clear: cyanide. By May 2023, the police in Ratchaburi province received the official autopsy report of Koi's body. It confirmed what many feared: cyanide poisoning. From that moment, Em refused to testify. But when she finally spoke, her statement was shocking. She claimed that Koi herself wanted to take drugs mixed with cyanide, and that she only helped fulfill her requests. And if that wasn't enough, she added that she got the cyanide from her deceased boyfriend. Honestly, it sounds unbelievable, as if the entire world would just swallow such an excuse. People around her were dying one after another from cyanide, and we're supposed to believe it's all a coincidence. Investigators weren't buying it. They carefully traced every single death and found one undeniable link. All the victims were connected to Em. Most of the ties were financial, and here's where it gets disturbing. Even police officers were among her victims. That's how deep her network ran. Em used all kinds of schemes, but one of the most common was a financial circle called Roscoe. Basically a trust-based savings group. Each member contributes money regularly, and then one person gets the whole sum in turn. Think of it as a community bank built on trust. But in Em's hands, trust was a weapon. She exploited desperate people, convincing them to hand over their savings or property, only to make sure they never lived long enough to collect their share. Take the case of Nitaya in August 2020. She had a Honda Civic, which she pawned on Em's advice for 150,000 baht. That very same evening, she went out drinking with Em. Hours later, she was found unconscious in a bathroom, face down. Her face was darkened. The doctors listed heart and lung failure, and no one suspected foul play. Her family only realized the truth after the funeral, when they discovered the car had been pawned. The money? Gone. And who had pushed her into it? Em. This pattern repeated again and again. Families lost not only their loved ones, but also their property, their savings, and sometimes even their hope of justice. Em was fast, ruthless, and cold. In some cases, she even kept the cars for herself. And the worst part, she once hired a lawyer to demand more money from the families of her victims. Was that lawyer part of her scam, or just blinded by easy profit? We may never know. As for her method, it was simple but terrifying. Em would invite her victims to a temple, or to a fortune-telling session, or even just out to dinner. And then she would hand them a drink, or food laced with cyanide. During the pandemic, she even disguised it as weight loss pills. Think about that for a second. A friend offers you coffee, and that's the last cup you ever drink. The police are still identifying her victims. One of the last confirmed cases was on April 1st, 2023. That day, surveillance cameras caught Em sitting with a police officer named Nipa at a temple. Eventually, investigators managed to uncover the supply chain of cyanide, and the answer was shocking. It wasn't hidden. It wasn't smuggled. It was sold in a store in the center of Bangkok. In fact, that very store had sold over 1,500 bottles of cyanide, and investigators discovered that anyone could order it online, no questions asked, which raises a chilling question. How many more poisoners could be out there in Thailand right now? This wasn't M's only scheme. Another method she used was life insurance. Victims took out policies with her as the beneficiary. If they failed to repay debts, or worse, if they died, she collected the payout. And cyanide was the perfect disguise. Unless you test for it specifically, the death looks natural. By police estimates, she funneled hundreds of thousands of dollars through her scams. Investigators tracked 108 bank accounts, holding nearly 78 million baht, but much of it, they say, was lost to gambling. Her wealth was soaked in blood. Even Koi's property, pointing M's name, became key evidence against her. When M was arrested, she refused to confess. Her ex-husband and lawyer were also detained. The lawyer was later released for lack of evidence. At the time, M was 4 months pregnant, but in prison, she later had an abortion. Public reaction online was harsh. Many wrote that she deserved it, and sympathy was nowhere to be found. Too many of her victims had been breadwinners, mothers, people struggling to survive. According to investigators, M had been deceiving and killing since at least 2015. One of her earliest victims was a woman named Sai. M offered to watch her property while she was abroad. When Sai returned, M personally picked her up at the airport. The next day, Sai was dead. M sold her house and pocketed the money. Studies showed that female serial killers are often motivated by profit, but the scale of M's crimes places her alongside the most infamous murderers in the world. In November 2024, the court delivered its first verdict: guilty of Koi's murder. Sentence: death. Her husband received 16 months for destroying evidence, but that was only the beginning. 13 more trials are still ahead. So many questions remain unanswered. Who helped her? How many more people were close to becoming victims? And what goes through the mind of someone who can kill again and again calmly, without hesitation? M herself remains silent, but her crimes speak louder than words. Thailand is still grappling with the scale of her poisonous web: 14 lives, 1 woman, and a deadly trust dissolved in cyanide. Perhaps the most terrifying part of this story is how easily death can hide behind a smile, a promise, or even a cup of coffee. How well do we really know the people beside us? Alright guys, what do you think about this story? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. I'll see you on the next one. This was Noir Frame, and this story is far from over. Bye!
Bye.